Vitamin D. I'd like to talk about vitamin D and why it's very important to make sure you have sufficient levels of vitamin D. First of all, vitamin D helps the intestine absorb nutrients, including calcium and phosphorus. This will help ensure strong bones and a strong immune system. A lot of people have weak bones and a poor immune system because they don't have sufficient levels of vitamin D. And this is a real problem, especially for people that live in North America where it's cold, okay? We have winter and people aren't outside getting sun exposure. So you have a huge risk of becoming deficient in vitamin D. And most statistics show that North Americans are deficient in vitamin D. Now, vitamin D also helps prevent osteomalacia and rickets. Osteomalacia, which causes weakness of the muscular system and brittle bones, is most prevalent among adults with vitamin D deficiency. Rickets is a skeletal deformity mostly seen in children with vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D provides calcium balance in the body that prevents osteoporosis or arthritis. Now, it's important that when you take vitamin D, you should be taking a natural source of calcium along with it and magnesium, because even if you had sufficient levels of vitamin D and you didn't have enough calcium in your diet, you will only absorb about 15% of that calcium. Now, if you had sufficient levels of vitamin D and you're taking your calcium, your body will be able to absorb up to 30% of more calcium. So those nutrients, calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D, all work together to create a healthy body and strong bones, amongst the other benefits that vitamin D gives you, which I'm going to talk about. Vitamin D helps to regulate blood pressure. It helps to reduce stress and tension. It relieves body aches and pain by reducing muscle spasms, reduces respiratory infections. It helps in differentiation of the cells. It aids in insulin secretion, helps fight depression, improves overall skin health by reducing wrinkles, making skin soft, strong, and smooth, and improves cardiovascular strength by providing a protective lining for the blood vessels. So as you can see, vitamin D is very critical in your conquest to become more healthier and stay young. That's why it's very important to make sure that you have sufficient levels of vitamin D. Now, here is 15 facts you probably never knew about vitamin D and sunlight exposure. And this was compiled by Mike Adams, which was based on an interview with Dr. Michael Hollick, the author of The UV Advantage. Vitamin D prevents osteoporosis, depression, prostate cancer, breast cancer, and even affects diabetes and obesity. Vitamin D is perhaps the single most underrated nutrient in the world of nutrition. That's probably because it's free. Your body makes it when sunlight touches your skin. Drug companies can't sell you sunlight, so there's no promotion of its health benefits. Truth is, most people don't know the real story on vitamin D and health. So here's an overview taken from an interview between Mike Adams and Dr. Michael Hollick. 1. Vitamin D is produced by our skin in response to exposure to ultraviolet radiation from natural sunlight. 2. The healing rays of natural sunlight that generate vitamin D in your skin cannot penetrate glass, so you don't generate vitamin D when sitting in your car or home. 3. It is nearly impossible to get adequate amounts of vitamin D from your diet. Sunlight exposure is the only reliable way to generate vitamin D in your own body. 4. A person would have to drink 10 tall glasses of vitamin D fortified milk each day just to get minimum levels of vitamin D into their diet. 5. The further you live from the equator, the longer exposure you need to the sun in order to generate vitamin D. Canada, the UK, and most US states are far from the equator. 6. People with dark skin pigmentation may need 20 to 30 times as much exposure to sunlight as fair-skinned people to generate the same amount of vitamin D. That's why prostate cancer is epidemic among black men. It's a simple but widespread sunlight deficiency. 7. Sufficient levels of vitamin D are crucial for calcium absorption in your intestines. Without sufficient vitamin D, your body cannot absorb calcium, rendering calcium supplements useless. 8. Chronic vitamin D deficiency cannot be reversed overnight. It takes months of vitamin D supplementation and sunlight exposure to rebuild the body's bones and nervous systems. So, don't expect to just by popping a couple vitamin D supplements and sitting out in the sun that all of a sudden you're just going to totally reverse, your deficiency of vitamin D and all of a sudden have strong bones and whatnot. Again, it takes months to correct this. 9. Even weak sunscreens, SPF of 8, block your body's ability to generate vitamin D by 95%. Now think about all the people that use sunscreen. This is how sunscreen products actually cause disease, by creating a critical vitamin deficiency in the body. I never use sunscreen in the summer. I'll use coconut oil, which is a natural sunscreen. 10. It is impossible to generate too much vitamin D in your body from sunlight exposure. Your body will self-regulate and only generate what it needs. 11. If it hurts to press firmly on your sternum, you may be suffering from chronic vitamin D deficiency right now. 12. Vitamin D is activated in your body by your kidneys and liver before it can be used. 13. Having kidney disease or liver damage can greatly impair your body's ability to activate circulating vitamin D. 14. The sunscreen industry doesn't want you to know that your body actually needs sunlight exposure, because that realization would mean lower sales of sunscreen products. And 15. Even though vitamin D is one of the most powerful healing chemicals in your body makes it absolutely free. No prescription required. And I got another little bit of information here I want to go over. On the issue of sunlight exposure, by the way, it turns out that super antioxidants greatly boost your body's ability to handle sunlight without burning. Astaxanthin is one of the most powerful internal sunscreens and can allow you to stay under the sun twice as long without burning. Other powerful antioxidants with this ability include the superfoods like acai, pomegranates, and everybody can have pomegranates because you can drink the Palm Wonderful juice, which is good pomegranate juice. Blueberries, strawberries, goji berries, any really good fruits, vegetables are loaded with antioxidants, cacao, And here are some diseases and conditions which are caused by a vitamin D deficiency. Osteoporosis is commonly caused by a lack of vitamin D, which greatly impairs calcium absorption. Sufficient vitamin D prevents prostate cancer, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, depression, colon cancer, and schizophrenia. You ever noticed all the crazy people running around that don't seem like that they're right in their mind? They're probably deficient in vitamin D. Rickets is the name of a bone-wasting disease caused by vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D deficiency may exacerbate type 2 diabetes and impair insulin production in the pancreas. Obesity impairs vitamin D utilization in the body, meaning obese people need twice as much vitamin D. And that brings up a good point in that if an obese person is vitamin D deficient, then they're probably more likely to be depressed. And of course that's what we see a lot in a lot of obese people, is they're depressed and unmotivated, which makes the problem of losing weight that much harder for them. Vitamin D is used around the world to treat psoriasis. Vitamin D deficiency causes schizophrenia. Seasonal affective disorders caused by a melatonin imbalance initiated by lack of exposure to sunlight. Chronic vitamin D deficiency is often misdiagnosed as fibromyalgia because its symptoms are so similar: muscle weakness, aches, and pains. Your risk of developing serious diseases like diabetes and cancer is reduced 50 to 80% through sensible exposure to natural sunlight 2 to 3 times each week. infants who receive vitamin D supplementation, 2,000 units daily, have an 80% reduced risk of developing type 1 diabetes over the next 20 years. And here is some shocking vitamin D deficiency statistics. 32% of doctors and med school students are vitamin D deficient. 40% of the U.S. population is vitamin D deficient. 42% of African American women of childbearing age are deficient in vitamin D. 48% of young girls 9 to 11 years old are vitamin D deficient. Up to 60% of all hospital patients are vitamin D deficient. 76% of pregnant mothers are severely vitamin D deficient, causing widespread vitamin D deficiencies in their unborn children, which predisposes them to type 1 diabetes, arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and schizophrenia later in life. 81% of the children born to these mothers were deficient, and up to 80% of nursing home patients are vitamin D deficient. So we can clearly see that vitamin D is very critical in order for us to stay healthy, keep our immune system strong, and slow aging process. Now, another important thing is studies that have come out, recently about showing how people that were vitamin D deficient had a stronger correlation with losing their hair. How that all works and vitamin D works inside the body, I'm not quite sure, but when they gave vitamin D to mice, these bald mice regrew their hair because it interacts with some protein in your body, which, again, you never know. I mean, I'm not saying that supplementing or going out in the sun is going to cause you to regrow your hair, but it just goes to show that when our bodies are deficient in nutrients that we need, it could be impacting other parts of our health in ways that we don't understand. Now, because it's winter here, a good way that I keep my vitamin D level up is by taking this vitamin D3, 5,000 IU. Now I take 10,000 IU every day, and then when summer comes, I'll go down back to 5,000. But this is very reasonable and affordable for most people. It's vitamin D3, it's in pure olive oil. It's not totally vegan because it's got gelatin in it, but it works. You can read the reviews of people that have been taking it on iHerb. I mean, hundreds if not thousands of people report good benefits in upping their vitamin D levels with this supplement. So I would really, really recommend to make sure that you're taking your vitamin D. If you are living in the North, UK, United States, and it's winter and you're not getting a lot of sun, definitely take vitamin D along with a natural form of calcium and magnesium, because they're very important. And if you're deficient, you're missing out on preventing diseases and having good health benefits. So with that, take care, get adequate levels of vitamin D, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.